just going to say that even just me standing here before you, talking to you in this manner is a testimony of the deliverance that I've experienced in my life, because this would not be something that I would sign myself up to do at all. But I would say that, first of all, I didn't come to deliverance in a traditional way. I actually came to deliverance based off of wanting to help, not necessarily knowing that I needed help. So I actually met Nadine through another person, and I was just helping watch their child while they were initially helping Nadine with the deliverance ministry. And through that, Nadine was like, "Oh, do you do childcare services?" And in my head, I'm like, "No, like I'm not childcare services." But she's like, we can use some help we have a couple of meetings coming up, and we could really appreciate the help that you could be able to offer us. So if you do find it in your heart, we would greatly appreciate it. And I'm a child and family therapist. So that's why I was like, no, I don't do that. I see children during the week. So I was like, all right, let me not be rigid, let me not be hard. And throughout that process of first initially meeting Nadine, I would get these calls from her, and she'd be like, "Oh, I just want to check in on you and pray for you." Which I was like, wow, okay, yeah, let's do that. I'll receive these prayers. And just the prayers that she was even speaking and declaring and decreeing things over me, I was like, how in the world does she know this? Well, God is really speaking to her. So I was just saying, as much as I was feeling this kind of initial rigidity to not want to do it because I took things for face value, I knew that God was doing something spiritually. See, I don't even need these notes. I knew that God was doing something spiritual within me for her to be able to see things inside of me that I couldn't see with my normal vision, or even just seeing my own self-reflection from even being from the mental health field. So as I continued to get to know Nadine's like, okay, you're just going to have to take this deliverance class. And I was like, oh, okay. And you're going to help out at the workshop. Okay, take the class first. And okay. Again, taking things at face value. And it wasn't until I took that first deliverance class where my eyes and spiritual eyes were opened in a way that I had never truly, fully understood things. I've always been a dreamer, so I started dreaming, and it was just a random friend that I was like, yeah, I get these really weird dreams and it would come true. And she's like, you should start writing them down. And that happened around 2005 for me. And I see things in vision, family, friends, people around me, things of that nature. And it wasn't until going through the workshop that I started to really be able to piece everything together. Piece the way in which the enemy was trying to attack me, even when I get certain dreams, even when certain things would happen, piece together things that God had been trying to direct me to, that I just was not listening because I was not fully attuned to the spiritual ear and the spiritual mind that I needed to have. I experienced so much pain, and I thought it was just physical pain, but it was internal, that I had no idea was even there. I mean, I had issues when it came to fibroids, and it was causing such a debilitation for me in general. I was having very extreme reactions. I would get fatigue, back pain, muscle loss, excruciating pain, and I was doing it all in silence because I was like, just bear through, just bear through. But I thank God for being able to be connected to Nadine, because the one thing that she kept on saying when she initially started praying for me is, well, we'll pray you through those things, and if you see anything rise up, you don't just take it, you come against it immediately. And she said it over and over again, and I was like, yes, I understand, but it wasn't until more later that I truly understood. And just the breakthroughs that I've seen ever since walking through deliverance. I've been through deliverance a couple times, and there's still more that I know that God has to deliver me through. I mean, I was having annual car accidents and I did say annual, car accidents for like 5 years. I was making it a joke because I'd go into the body shop being like, I'm back from my annual visit, but not even really realizing like that was warfare. That was the enemy coming against me. And I would question and say, how does this keep happening to me? And at calamity after calamity, I would say that. And it wasn't truly until understanding the true deliverance that I was in need of that I was able to start to put everything together to where I mean, things within family have been repaired, relationships that were broken, relationships that just weren't even there have blossomed to this fully attuned and connected relationship. My brother and I never were necessarily super close growing up. There was a 4-year age difference, but we just never got too close after a while. But my brother is one of my best friends. If something happens to me, I go to him, I talk to him. I moved away from family at one point in time because I thought like, oh, I just need to get away from all the chaos happening there, which again was nothing but a lie from the enemy. And what ended up happening as I started walking through deliverance was that I was just like, God, I'm gonna follow you. It's no longer about what I think needs to happen. I'm just gonna follow where you sent me. And he actually sent me closer to my family, to the point where now every Friday, my father, my brother, and I all meet together and we train, because my brother's a PT, personal trainer. We train together as a family, and it's not just training, you know, our physical fitness, we're also sharing our stories and testimonies, which has just been amazing to see how God has worked through my family in that way. He's worked with me personally to get rid of a lot of self-rejection that I know that I've had, a lot of internal self-condemnation, internal isolation, and like I said, I could not be here if I hadn't been delivered from those things speaking before you today. So I obviously am very indebted to the way in which Nadine and the ministry and the team have allowed for themselves to pour out their love, number one, I would say, on me, because I was in desperate need of it. I didn't love myself, even though I thought I did. And the love that they showed me, the ways in which continuously I get phone calls from Nadine, her checking in, and the last phone call I was like, oh my gosh, I was just gonna call you. But the ways in which she speaks over me, the ways in which she checks in on me, even when I come over to the house and then I speak to Rebecca, and then just having the warm place, and I never told Rebecca this, but she reminds me so much of a friend that I had who we didn't necessarily get close, but you just feel so familiar. And I think that's just the spirit that you have, where you just feel so familiar to people that naturally they want to open up and share with you. And again, I'm just astounded even with the way that God is even speaking through me, because I don't share in this way always. But I'm just so grateful for the turnaround, and now I'm trying to beg to put there too, Joy.
Hallelujah. Thank you. Bless your name, Jesus. Hallelujah.
I'm just so grateful for the way God has turned around my life, and for the divine connections that He's allowed me to experience. Because even though there's greater deliverance that I know God still will do, I'm just so happy to be this version of me that's more in line with who He truly created me to be. Who's not bound by all the chains that were taking away from who I was. Who's not holding in the hurt from past experiences with others, but that I can release it and be free. So this conference is so appropriately named, but it's called the Freedom Conference. And it's no coincidence that it's almost a year now that I've walked through the many times of deliverance, and that Nadine asked me to speak today. Because I'm nothing but a living testimony of God's love.